Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Guys, I have with me Marshal GS Bedi, जो हमको बताएंगे कि भाई ये LCA Tejas का एक इंसिडेंट हुआ था where the aircraft crashed and thankfully the pilot survived. He's okay. Last reports जो मैंने पढ़ी थी, he's going some small amount of medical treatment, but he's all right. He will be fit to fly in some time. But एक ये क्रैश हुआ, काफी सवाल उठे कि भाई ये तो नया जहाज है, ये क्या हो रहा है। जिन लोगों को समझ नहीं आया उन लोगों ने तो दे ऑल्सो सेड कि भाई रिटायर दीज कॉफिन्स। भाई ये तो आई मीन बहुत कमेंट्री एंड एवरीबडी इज बिकम एन आर्मचेयर जनरल, नहीं, आई विल से आर्मचेयर एयर मार्शल, एंड द अमाउंट ऑफ कमेंट्री दैट वी सॉ ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर क्रैश वाज क्रेजी। किसी ने वेट नहीं करी, अभी भी वेट नहीं करते हैं लोग टू फाइंड व्हाट एक्चुअली हैपेंड। टुडे वी विल टॉक अबाउट फ्रॉम अ fighter pilot himself and somebody who was connected with flight safety in the Indian Air Force as a deputy chief, to try and understand यार what happened, what are the probabilities, हुआ क्या क्या हो सकता है, and how do we understand such incidents in the future. So sir, namaskar, welcome to the show.
Namaskar, Adi. Always a pleasure to be with you. And thank you for choosing this topic because flight safety has been very dear to me. In my last post, I was, the designation is called Director General Inspection and Safety. So, you are responsible for looking at the flight safety of the entire Air Force. Okay. And of course you have to keep track of things like you said ना, जैसे बोला आपने कि ठीक है, पब्लिक ओपिनियन होता है, कुछ मीडिया बनाती है, कुछ हेडलाइंस बनाने के लिए इंफॉर्मेशन बनाते हैं, पर अंडरलाइंग रीजंस क्या होते हैं, बहुत रीजंस है, बहुत डिटेल में इन्वेस्टिगेशन होती है। हमारी जैसे बोलते हैं ना लोकली, बिल्कुल people put in so much of hard work to see, क्योंकि इसकी बात करेंगे हम क्या हो सकता था LCA में। देखो अभी भी थोड़ा सा सब्सिडिस है, लाइक इतना ही पता है कि LCA क्रैश हो गया। द गुड पार्ट इज दैट पायलट हैव मैनेज टू इजेक्ट, पायलट इज सेफ। और उसमें दो चीजें हैं, सिर्फ यही नहीं कि पायलट सेफ है, वो तो है ही। दूसरा बहुत बड़ी बात होती है कि पायलट इज देयर टू टेल यू एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हैपेंड, more than FTR or CVR or those things can tell you. So investigation or the correction part can become much better. ठीक है, तो इसमें जो एयरफोर्स में इन्वेस्टिगेशंस होती हैं, एक्सीडेंट्स होते हैं, हम बात करेंगे। आई मीन आई विल टेल यू माई सेल्फ, और लोगों के क्वेश्चंस होंगे बहुत, आई सपोज वी विल सी एज द फ्लो गोज। तो जब एक्सीडेंट होता है, कैन यू इमेजिन 700-800 किलोमीटर स्पीड पे फाइटर की बात करते हैं, बिकॉज ज्यादा एक्सीडेंट्स जनरली फाइटर्स के होते हैं, या इवन हेलीकॉप्टर्स जिसका रोटर रोटेट कर रहा है इतनी हाई आरपीएम पे। जब ये क्रैश होते हैं तो कुछ नहीं बचता, इट्स मैंगल्ड, इट्स द पार्ट्स आर थ्रोन अराउंड इन किलोमीटर्स ऑफ रेडियस। नाउ दीज पीपल गो, एक एक पार्ट इधर से उठाओ उधर से उठाओ, उसको रिकंस्ट्रक्ट करो पूरे एक्सीडेंट को, क्या हुआ होगा, सीवीआर देखो, उसका FDR देखो, उसको कोरिलेट करो, आई विटनेस से पूछो क्या हुआ लास्ट में, किसने क्या देखा। तो बहुत ही ज्यादा लेबोरियस प्रोसेस है। जो उसकी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन चेक करो, उसकी एयरक्राफ्ट की हेल्थ क्या थी, कैसे हर जगह पे स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम सैबोटाज टू everything is stripped open, and it takes time. It takes time. पर होता क्या है कि इमीडिएटली जो इंफॉर्मेशन आती है, या जो ना एक एक्सीडेंट इन्वेस्टिगेशन बोर्ड इंस्टीट्यूट हुआ था कि भाई ओके लेट्स से एक्सीडेंट हैज हैपेंड टुडे, तो आपको कब पता चलेगा? आप 6 महीने बाद पता चलेगा। तो ऐसा ना हो कि 6 महीने के दौरान उतने ही और तरीके के एक्सीडेंट्स हो जाए। तो क्या होता है कि इमीडिएटली एक चीज का पता लगाया जाता है कि प्राइमा फेसी क्या हो सकता था, और जब उस कारण का पता चलता है तो सभी एयरक्राफ्ट के चेक्स किए जाते हैं। जैसे इसमें भी I'm sure, let's talk of LCA. The LCA Tejas aircraft has had a wonderful record. I tell you, if you see the aviation history, very rarely will you find that any aircraft in its entire development period did not meet with an accident. This is the first ever. And we have seen so much flying. They've gone international, they've gone, abroad, done exercises. यहाँ पे होती रही हैं एक्सरसाइजेस। फ्लाई बाय वायर ऑटो पायलट सिस्टम्स आर फैंटास्टिक। इवन इसमें भी देखा होगा वीडियो जो आपने देखा कि इवन पायलट इजेक्ट भी कर गया तो एयरक्राफ्ट स्टेट एंड लेवल काइंड ऑफ जा रहा है कि जैसे लैंड कर जाएगा जाके, राइट? सो अगर एयरक्राफ्ट, अब कई लोग सोच रहे होंगे कि अगर एयरक्राफ्ट जा ही रहा था सीधा, उसमें तो इजेक्ट करने की क्या जरूरत थी पायलट को? आई मीन व्हाई कुडंट ही बी इन दैट फॉर सम टाइम मोर, टू सी। इसमें आई वुड लाइक टू टेल यू और द ऑडियंस कि जैसे ये अप्रोच पे था, आप देखेंगे ना उसका वीडियो, तो अंडर कैरेज डाउन है उसके, ठीक है ना? सो इसका
आई विल पुट
मतलब
दैट
लो
अप
हाइट
सर,
पे होगा।
एक बार ही
या
देख लेते हैं
ओके।
वो।
या यू सी दिस अंडर कैरेज इज डाउन, करेक्ट? और जो ये पिक्चर है बहुत ज्यादा रेंज से नहीं ली होगी, बिकॉज वो रिफिलिंग प्रोब या सब कुछ क्लैरिटी इज विजिबल, राइट? ट्री हाइट आप देख सकते हो, तो यू कैन जनरली इमेजिन व्हाट हाइट मस्ट द एयरक्राफ्ट हैव बीन, करेक्ट? पर क्या होता है कि ग्लाइड रेशो जो जनरली, और जब जिसको हम बोलते हैं अप्रोच एंगल, जनरली 3 डिग्रीज के आसपास होता है, ठीक है? एट एन एवरेज 2.5 to 3 डिग्रीज डिपेंडिंग ऑन एयरक्राफ्ट टू एयरक्राफ्ट। तो 3 डिग्रीज ग्लाइड पाथ को जब आप ट्रिग्नोमेट्री लगा के उसको ट्रांसलेट करते हैं, उसका मतलब 1:20 रेशो निकलती है 1:60 रूल के हिसाब से। दैट मीन्स अगर आपकी हाइट 100 मीटर है तो आप उससे 20 गुना ज्यादा हॉरिजॉन्टली दूर हैं। दैट इज हाउ द ट्रायंगल विल शो यू 3 डिग्री इफ यू सी, तो योर परपेंडिकुलर वर्सेस योर जो बेस है, ओके, 1:20 की रेशो बनती है तकरीबन तकरीबन। सो अगर ये एयरक्राफ्ट की हाइट 200 मीटर रही होगी तो ये तकरीबन 4 किलोमीटर दूर है अपने टचडाउन पॉइंट से, ओके? अब क्या है कि अगर ये एयरक्राफ्ट जा रहा है, इतना नीचे आ रहा है, तो क्या है जो इजेक्शन होती है ना, इजेक्शन हाइट से 0-0 भी होती है। जैसे ना आप रनवे पे खड़े हो और चल रहे हो तो भी इजेक्ट कर सकते हो, 0-0 इजेक्शन हाइट्स हैं। पर जब रेट ऑफ डिसेंड होता है इंट्रोड्यूस, तो जो हाइट इजेक्शन की है वो जीरो नहीं रहती। वो क्या है कि रेट ऑफ डिसेंड इज गेटिंग यू डाउन, देयर इज इनर्शिया डाउनवर्ड्स, सो यू हैव टू इजेक्ट एट ए पर्टिकुलर हाइट। इफ यू कम बिलो दैट हाइट देन यू आर डिस्टाइंड टू लैंड। सो जो सब एयरक्राफ्ट की इमरजेंसीज होती हैं फाइनल पे, यू से दैट जैसे हम प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, हर एक एयरक्राफ्ट सॉटी जाने से पहले आप लाइन अप पे खड़े होके ये इमरजेंसी प्रैक्टिस करते हो कि अगर टेक ऑफ के बाद इंजन फ्लेम आउट हो गया या खराब हो गया तो क्या एक्शन करेंगे? अगर अप्रोच में इस हाइट तक इंजन फेलियर हो गया तो क्या एक्शन है? इस हाइट के नीचे फेलियर हो गया तो क्या एक्शन है? सो इट इज रिहर्स्ड इन डिटेल। So it must be the result of that rehearsal that when he probably had an engine problem, where the details will come out. Engine which probably stopped functioning, it seized probably. Why did it seize? Because of why can engine seize? Engine generally seizes when it stops getting lubricated. इंजन सीज मतलब जैसे जैम हो गया, राइट? लाइक जैसे आपकी नॉर्मल मशीन को अगर ऑयलिंग नहीं हुई तो आपका क्या इंजन सीज हो जाता है ना, जैसे इफ देयर इज नॉट इनफ लुब्रिकेशन। So similarly, now how will you lose lubrication is only one way, that probably if your oil leaked out, if the oil pressure somehow went out. Now why did that happen? That obviously the code of inquiry will bring out. But the fact is that इंजन वाज नॉट विद द पायलट एंड ही डिसाइडेड इन टाइम, और उसको पता चल गया कि ये नहीं है, और उसका डिस्टेंस रनवे से इतनी दूर था और उसकी हाइट उस पैरामीटर्स में थी कि जिसमें वो सेफली इजेक्ट कर सकता था, और सेफली इजेक्ट हो गया, ओके? क्योंकि जब इंजन सीज हो जाता है, देखो जो पावर है एयरक्राफ्ट की, वो जो फाइनल पे है तो पावर के साथ है, ही इज एबल टू मेंटेन दैट ग्लाइड पाथ बिकॉज ही इज गॉट दैट मच ऑफ पावर। अगर आप पावर कंप्लीटली ले लें और इंजन सीजर, मतलब इंजन विंडमिलिंग भी नहीं है, देयर इज नो पावर बीइंग जनरेटेड, तो फिर आपका रेट ऑफ डिसेंट बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगा। इमीडिएटली यू विल फाइंड दैट रेट ऑफ डिसेंट विल इंक्रीज ट्रेमेंडसली। और अगर उस इंक्रीज रेट ऑफ डिसेंट में इजेक्शन अगर अटेम्प्ट की जाए तो हो सकता है इजेक्शन सक्सेसफुल ना हो। तो दैट्स व्हाई इट हैज बीन अ वेरी वाइज डिसीजन ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ द पायलट दैट ही at least realized the emergency correctly and took correct action, okay? एग्जैक्टली क्या हुआ वो
In seconds, that
पता
too, sir.
चलेगा
Sorry to
इन
interject,
सेकंड्स।
but in seconds.
Yeah. You see, sometimes the decisions have to be taken in split seconds. ये जो aerobatics करते हैं लोग, low level aerobatics मैं भी करता था, तो just to give you an idea, so when you're doing a loop, you are recovering. Now aerobatics करते हो आप, आपकी deck height है 500 feet 150 meters, जिसके नीचे अलाउड नहीं है। आई मीन दैट इज अ मिनिमम हाइट यू आर सपोज्ड टू बी डूइंग एरोबेटिक्स। नाउ देखो, अब उससे ज्यादा ऊपर आप रह नहीं सकते, क्योंकि फिर पब्लिक को दिखोगे नहीं, तो फिर लो लेवल एरोबेटिक्स नहीं हुई। उसके नीचे नहीं आ सकते, क्योंकि आप फिर सेफ्टी इन्फ्रिंज कर रहे हो। अब ये जो लूप करता है एयरक्राफ्ट, व्हेन इट इज फेसिंग डाउनवर्ड्स, इट्स बिल्डिंग अप स्पीड टू ऑलमोस्ट रिकवरी स्पीड ऑफ 900 किलोमीटर एन आवर, व्हिच इज अबाउट 250 मीटर्स पर सेकंड, राइट? और अगर 150 मीटर्स आपकी रिकवरी हाइट है, तो एक्चुअली हाउ मच ऑफ डिसीजन टाइम डू यू हैव? एग्जैक्टली 900 नहीं होगा, बिल्डअप हो रही है, तो मीन इट्स लेस देन ए सेकंड दैट यू हैव द रिएक्शन टाइम, व्हिच ऑफ कोर्स यू आर ट्रेन्ड फॉर। ओके, या आप एयर टू गन फायरिंग के लिए जाते हो, यू आर इनटू फायरिंग एट 1000-1200 meters range, your height is very less, you're hurtling down at high speed, at which point you initiate. So all these decisions come in a split second, but the caveat is that you're trained for it. You're not imagining those decisions. इट इज ऐसा नहीं है कि सडनली आप कुछ ऐसे वेग सा क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया कि भैया इसका डिसीजन दे दो, तो आप तुक्का मार रहे हो। इट इज नॉट तुक्का, it is a rehearsed situation. It is thought emergencies are practiced, all the situations, but still it is aviation. Every time a situation may not be rehearsed, and you may have certain situations emerging, जिसके लिए आप तैयार थे या जिसके लिए नहीं तैयार थे, या ग्रे जोन था, उसमें आपका एक्सपीरियंस नेचुरली आपके काम आया, और आप उस सिचुएशन से बाहर निकल आए। हमारी तो मैथोलॉजी कहती है कि अभिमन्यु की स्टोरी आप सुने कि भाई वो लोग कहते हैं ना चक्रव्यूह के बारे में, वो वहां के पेट में उसने सीख लिया था। कहने का मतलब, आप आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इनटू द रियलिज्म ऑफ इट, बट आई थिंक द एसेंस इज कि ट्रेनिंग टेक्स प्लेस फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग। एंड यहाँ पे अगर एविएशन की बात करें, तो जब से एकेडमी ज्वाइन करता है पायलट, द ट्रेनिंग शुरू होती है, कितना ध्यान दे रहा है उसमें, कितना उसको एब्जॉर्ब कर रहा है, सो वो कभी ना कभी आपके काम आती है। और ये जो है ना फैसेट ह्यूमन माइंड का, कई जगह पे दर्शाया गया है। अगर हम कोलोकियली बात करें, आपने पिक्चर देखी होगी स्लम डॉग मिलियनेयर, उसमें बड़ी अच्छी तरह दर्शाया गया है कि कैसे वो लड़का जवाब देता है, कुछ ना कुछ उसको याद आता है, जो उसकी जिंदगी में घटा है, कि ये तब हुआ था, तो उसको इमीडिएटली याद आता है कि भी अच्छा, ये उससे रिलेट कर सकते हैं, ये उससे रिलेट कर सकते हैं। तो in a same way, you go through these emergencies situations very very diligently. Coming to accidents per se, फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट में क्यों होते हैं? कई कारण होते हैं। टेक्निकल डिफेक्ट हो सकते हैं, बर्ड हिट हो सकते हैं, कई बार वेदर रिलेटेड होते हैं, और ह्यूमन एरर। अगर आप गूगल करें ना, तो आपको लोग बताएंगे कि ह्यूमन एरर इज द बिगेस्ट कॉज ऑफ एयर एक्सीडेंट्स। क्योंकि अब ह्यूमन एरर इज नॉट नेसेसरली पायलट एरर, और दिस इज लूज थिंकिंग। जब अगर उसको लोग पढ़ते हैं, बोलते हैं अरे यार, हर एक चीज के लिए ह्यूमन एरर बता सकते हैं। ह्यूमन एरर इज, अगर टेक्निकली भी कोई चीज खराब हुई है, तो किसी ह्यूमन ने बनाई है ना, सम ह्यूमन वाज इन्वॉल्वड, करेक्ट? So whether it is in design feature, whether it is in servicing feature, whether it is in in some assembly, and including pilot error, in the last, they do happen, sometimes supervisory lapses happen, okay? क्योंकि एक तरीके से आप रिहर्सल कर रहे हो चीज को, ओके, और जब सिचुएशंस ओवरवेल्म करती हैं आपको, एक के बाद एक, एक के बाद एक के बाद एक होती है, तो जो आपकी मेंटल कैपेसिटी है ओवरवेल्म हो जाती है कई बार। तो आप एक चीज को एड्रेस करते हुए दूसरी चीज पे ध्यान नहीं दे सकते, और ये चीजें जब कंपाउंड हो जाती हैं, तो प्रोबेबली दे रिजल्ट इन एन एक्सीडेंट। जैसे वो स्विस चीज मॉडल है, जिसमें वो कहते हैं कि सारे होल्स अगर अलाइन हो जाए ना, हर एक वो ऐसे स्लाइसेस बने होते हैं कि होल्स आर एट डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्लेसेस, ताकि एक होल से एक्सीडेंट जाने की कोशिश करता है, तो दूसरा स्लाइस रोक लेगा उसको। पर अगर वो सारे होल्स एक दूसरे के साथ अलाइन हो जाएं, तो फिर वो एक्सीडेंट हैपेंस। सो इसमें जब ह्यूमन एरर की बात आती है, तो ह्यूमन फैक्टर एनालिसिस एंड क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम बना है पूरा पूरा, जिसमें वो पूरे तरीके से देखते हैं कि अगर ये एरर की गई, तो किस लिए की गई, जानबूझ के की गई या इनएडवर्टेंटली हुई, लाइक वेदर इट वाज error of judgment somewhere, or willful violation, or indiscipline, or etc etc, तो हर एक चीज का निचोड़ निकाल के रेमेडियल मेजर्स होते हैं, डिटेल्ड रिकमेंडेशंस जाती हैं, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया तक जाती हैं, पायलट्स को बताई जाती हैं, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा। सो बहुत डिटेल्ड में इसका एनालिसिस होता है। और अगर हम इंडियन एयरफोर्स की बात करें तो सिंस आई हैव बीन इन्वॉल्व्ड, अगर आप पुरानी देखें स्टैटिस्टिक्स, तो फेटेलिटीज बहुत होती थी। पायलट्स समहाउ हेजिटेटेड टू इजेक्ट, they tried to save the aircraft, they either tried to come out of this situation somehow, and it resulted in fatality. Now over a period of time with training and the biggest thing, simulators, I will tell you the importance of simulators के नाउ ट्रेनिंग क्या है कि हर एक चीज ना आप एयरक्राफ्ट में जाके तो सिमुलेट नहीं कर सकते थे। फॉर एग्जांपल इंजन फेलियर कैसे सिमुलेट करोगे एयरक्राफ्ट में? यू कांट स्विच ऑफ एन इंजन एंड से कि भाई इसको आप एक्शन लो, है ना? तो हमारे
ये
जो
ट्रायल बॉल मानी जाएगी।
या ओके, और यह ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट है, करेक्ट? उसमें आप ऐसे नहीं कि मल्टीपल दोनों इंजन फेल करके आप बोलो कि भाई अब इसको दिखाओ कैसे है। तो पहले क्या था, आर ओल्ड लाइक मिग 21, मिग 23, मिग 27, ऑल दिस, लॉट ऑफ देम डिड नॉट कम विद सिमुलेटर्स। आई डोंट नो व्हाई, शायद कल्चर नहीं था उतना एडवांस्ड कि इसकी अहमियत समझी जाए कि सिमुलेटर की अहमियत क्या है। पर अब क्या है कि every aircraft in the Indian Air Force inventory has a simulator, and proper type simulator. Like we are not talking of ऐसे PC based के जिस पे आप कुछ rehearsal कर रहे हो. Means you can sit in the aircraft and fly. They are not D level, like not that airline kind of stuff, but very close to that. Okay. And Mirage 2000, I remember जब हम गए थे, पहला सिमुलेटर देखा था मैंने जिसमें आप तकरीबन सब कुछ कर सकते थे, तकरीबन सब कुछ। तो उसमें क्या है कि पायलट को बड़ी सिचुएशंस में डाला जा सकता है, और एक बार जब आप लिव थ्रू करते हैं किसी सिचुएशन के, तो यू रिमेंबर इट मोर ऑफन रादर देन जस्ट रीडिंग इट इन ए बुक और रिहर्सिंग बाई रोट इमरजेंसी के इसके बाद ये करेंगे वो करेंगे। नो, यू आर गोइंग थ्रू द मोशन, एंड वंस यू हैव गॉन थ्रू दैट मोशन वंस ट्वाइस मेनी टाइम्स, दैट देन दोस थिंग्स स्टिक कि भाई ये इस चीज को ऐसे करना है, इस चीज को ऐसे करना है। तो अब तो पॉलिसी है कि जो भी नई एयरक्राफ्ट इंडक्शन होगा वो हमेशा सिमुलेटर के साथ ही होगा। ओके, और यहां तक जो एलसीए का था, आई डोंट थिंक मेनी पीपल विल नो कि एलसीए में तो ट्रेनर ही नहीं था शुरू में। देयर वाज नो ट्रेनर एयरक्राफ्ट इन एलसीए। एलसीए में जब सीधा फाइटर फ्लाई करते थे तो सिमुलेटर पे ही करते थे। तो सिमुलेटर की इंटीग्रिटी जो है, जो ऑथेंटिसिटी है, इतनी जबरदस्त सी कि इट वाज एज गुड एज फ्लाइंग एन एयरक्राफ्ट। सो यू कुड ट्रेन ए पायलट ऑन सिमुलेटर एंड लॉन्च हिम स्ट्रेट अवे ऑन द fighter aircraft. So that is the level in which the simulators have come up, which has improved the training standards of Indian Air Force pilots to a great deal. So that is why they are able to judge situations correctly. A lot of accidents have been saved. The accident rate has come down substantially, fatalities have come down substantially, and of course aircraft modern hai. I mean, they are more self sort of serving, like they can look after themselves to quite an extent. जैसे आप बिल्कुल सिविल एयरक्राफ्ट की बात करें तो एयरबस ना, जो एयरबस के पायलट्स हैं जनरली बोलते हैं कि जो एयरबस है ना, इट इज कॉल्ड इडियट प्रूफ। like even if you make an idiot sit in that, it is very difficult for a person to make mistake in that. Okay, not that people don't do it, they still manage to do it.
Unless it's a company like Boeing which is making mistakes.
Yeah, so this is that is why, because automation, that is the difference. Boeing is more of a manual intervention aircraft. Like it has got a lot of manual intervention. Even इसके control surface से लेके सब कुछ is more man oriented, whereas Airbus is following the technology of more of automation. हर एक चीज की अलग अलग what they call फायदे नुकसान हो सकते हैं, depends on what situation are we talking of. Okay, so this is in a nutshell how when we talk more we can come to various reasons. अभी modern technologies में ना लोगों के जो नई generation है is used to different things. पहले क्या था, जब हम यंगस्टर से, तो क्या बॉदर करता था आपको कि लाइट नहीं आई, पंखा नहीं चल रहा, या एक कुछ छोटी सी चीज नहीं चल रही तो यू आर फ्रस्ट्रेटेड कि यार लाइट नहीं है, ये नहीं है। आजकल इफ योर वाईफाई कनेक्शन इज नॉट देयर, ए पर्सन इज फ्रस्ट्रेटेड, डिसगस्टेड कि as if life has come to stand still, because the life has started revolving around those things. So in earlier times, when the things which were inconsequential or you not even exposed to, now it is very different because your life depends on that. Somebody has to make some transaction, let's say, or some, something important has to be done, some mail has to be sent, something has to be done. So if those things are not available, your mental state is not right. So the modern aviation or the Air Force has to cater for all these kind of scenarios. So there is a lot one can carry on talking, that why pilots end up making mistake, how can pilots be indisciplined, or how can they make violations, etc. Now ये बड़े moot questions हैं, because everyone is made differently. सेम क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है कि रोड पे क्यों रेड लाइट क्रॉस करेगा कोई, या क्यों उल्टी तरफ से आएगा, ओके। वो इसलिए कि जब तक कोई चीज होती नहीं किसी के साथ ना, एक्सीडेंट डजंट टेक प्लेस, यू हैव ए काइंड ऑफ फीलिंग दैट इट कांट हैपन टू मी, I will get away with it, or comfort zone, or no one is watching, etc etc. मतलब I don't know how to put it across. दुख की बात है और अफसोस की बात है कि आपको स्टैटिस्टिक्स ये ओपन डोमेन में है। जब अब पायलट्स हैं देखो सिविल के ना, आप गूगल करें तो 2022 में इट्स ओपन सोर्स इंफॉर्मेशन दैट 41 पायलट्स टेस्टेड positive in BA test, breath analysis test. Okay. Now the fact is that you are going to fly an aircraft, which is carrying 200 passengers, and you decide to come to the aircraft in not following the limitations of your system. So what do you have in mind? I'm sure this pilot does not have intentions to kill people. He somehow is convinced that he'll be able to fly the aircraft, and for all you know, sometimes he may have flown also. Okay. But the fact is that he is not able to understand that it is not normal flying which one is bothered about. It's the spare mental capacity, or your ability to act in an emergency which may be impaired, or like you said, you are required to take split second decision. Now it is your split second decision taking capability which may get impaired if you are not in your complete senses. So that is why these kind of things happen. Okay. But we have come a long way, from earlier our records or earlier technology, and we are moving way ahead, and now we are almost kind of a world class Air Force. I mean, I'll stop here just to let you ask question, or whatever,
I
how we
have
move forward.
only one, sir. As a matter of fact, I also want to show another video so that people can understand. आप जो precision flying की बात कर रहे थे, it's a short video, about 30 seconds, so people can understand what precision flying is all about. So bear with me, and then I will ask
Yeah.
my particular question. And guys, by the time I upload this, can you please all like the video, subscribe, check your subscription, check the bell icon. Sorry, I'm going to just mute this because the music is just incorrigible. Okay, yeah, so that's what precision flying is, what we are talking about. This is the Surya Kirans flying together. And now look at this. Now, in this sort of a scenario, the time of reaction is less than anything that you would have ever thought of. Correct me if I'm wrong, sir.
Yeah. When you finish this video, I'll tell you what all it takes to do that. Here you see people are so much glued to the leader. They don't know what is happening around them. Okay. They've got that reference, and they are just sort of, stuck to him. Okay. And they are one wingspan, or less than a one wingspan, which is about 7 to 8 meters or 10 meters, less than that apart from each other. Okay. And here we are flying, the Surya Kiran, this hawks are flying at 450, 500 kilometers an hour. Okay. So that is the kind of reaction time which is available, and it is not safety. I mean, if you want to be safe, you can be more far apart, right? You have to be
हाँ,
there close because you have to look good. Okay.
वही तो है ना
And
सर,
you
सूर्य
also have
किरण
to be
का.
safe.
हाँ,
Yeah. Okay. So that is then the amount of training. I've seen the Surya Kiran training also happening, in how these people train. There are various levels, and every sortie, every rehearsal sortie is so thoroughly debriefed. वीडियो बनता है नीचे, लोगों को, और आप खुद बैठ के देखते हो कि मैंने क्या क्या किया, बिकॉज आपको और कोई बताने वाला नहीं है. Even leader, nobody can tell any other person that how did he do, and आप दूर flying कर रहे हो, नीचे से कोई नहीं बता सकता. So high definition कैमरा से वीडियो बनता है, रिकॉर्डिंग होती है, लीडर डीब्रीफ करता है, सब कुछ. और बिल्कुल precisely, they maneuver or they fly next to each other with that kind of precision. A lot of training takes place in that.
I mean, amazing. And the kind of, when you're flying so close to each other, there is a little difference of elevation. There's a little thoda sa difference in heights and thoda sa idhar udhar wo sab hai. But you can imagine, I mean, you're basically got a whole lot of power and a whole lot of speed, and आपको ये precision flying करनी है at low levels. तो
Yeah. And
you know,
they are not electric aircraft. They are emitting a whole lot of jet wake behind them. You see, there is an engine,
which
and
keeps
that
tossing
wake,
you up and down.
if you get into that wake, I mean, you are thrown out. So you have to be at the right position. Imagine so many. There is a wake right, there is a wake left, there is a wake above, there is a wake behind. So you have just that slot to be there. And the person who's glued to you is glued to you. So if you get thrown out of position, even he'll get thrown out of position,
वो भी
because he's
जाएगा.
looking nowhere else. You are just looking at your reference. So that is how important it becomes.
Sir, मेरा एक ही question है. I mean, when incidents happen, of course, which are very very sad and stuff like that, but the factor of how does the Air Force actually handle these incidents? कैसे होता है? क्या process होता है? Because see, I don't want to know कौन जाता है, क्या होता है, कैसे. What is the process like, so that this is one thing that people don't know. जो कोर्ट ऑफ इंक्वायरी सीओआई आ जाता
Yeah,
है,
yeah,
वो क्या होता है सर?
yeah.
हाउ डू यू गो
क्या होता
स्टार्ट
है?
दिस? डू वी हैव अ
Yeah.
स्पेसिफिक टीम विद इन द एयर फोर्स जिसका काम ही ये होता है कि जाके इन्वेस्टिगेशंस करो, दे पीस टुगेदर स्टफ? जैसे हमने वो वीडियोस देखे हैं, एयर क्रैश इन्वेस्टिगेशन के वीडियोस देखे हैं, इज इट एग्जैक्टली लाइक दैट? इज इट डिफरेंट? क्या है सर? व्हाट इज द सेटअप?
Yeah, see, what happens is, like I said, there is a full-fledged directorate, directorate of flight safety or aerospace safety, what we call these days. Okay. Now, उसमें क्या होता है? It is headed by an air commodore. Okay. And he works directly under the Director General Inspection and Safety, which is Air Marshal rank, which I was. Okay. Now, what happens? Moment there is an accident. Now, there are categories of accidents. There is a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, etc., etc. So we are talking of a major accident. Let's say, then aircraft has crashed. Okay. Whether fatal or not fatal is a separate issue, but aircraft has crashed. Okay. It's a Cat 1. Okay. Cat 1 means which cannot be retrieved, which is beyond repair. Okay. So what happens is, essentially in a fatal accident, or let's take the most grave accident which can happen, that aircraft is destroyed and unfortunately pilot is also killed in that. So immediately, that first information report, what we call, जैसे एक रेज होती है जिसमें मोटी मोटी डिटेल्स बताई जाती हैं कि क्या, कौन सा एयरक्राफ्ट था, कौन फ्लाई कर रहा था, उसका एयरक्राफ्ट की सिचुएशन क्या थी, प्राइमा फेसी क्या क्या हुआ. जब वो रिपोर्ट रेज हो जाती है, तो एक हमारी एयरक्राफ्ट एक्सीडेंट इन्वेस्टिगेशन बोर्ड है, AAIB बोलते हैं, जो फिक्स टीम है. ओके. इस डायरेक्टरेट एरोस्पेस सेफ्टी में वो इमीडिएटली रवाना होती है जगह पे, और मोटा मोटा हिसाब लगाती है कि क्या हो सकता था. इज इट समथिंग टू वरी दैट वी नीड टू स्टॉप फ्लाइंग ऑन ऑल एयरक्राफ्ट? लाइक सपोज मैं एक मोटी सी एग्जांपल देता हूं, तो आपको पता लगता है कि दिस डजंट हैपन, दिस जस्ट टू ब्रिंग होम ए पॉइंट, कि कुछ फॉर्म ही डिटैच हो गया, कोई पार्ट डिटैच हो गया, कि इसमें देखा गया कि एयरक्राफ्ट की फिन डिटैच हो गई, तो आप यू गेट वरीड कि यार ये कैसे हो गया. ओके, स्टॉप, let's check all our aircraft, that can it happen, सारे tensile strength check करो, ये करो, वो करो, etc. So this, from an extreme example, there are things which can happen in between. Why I gave this example? Because everybody may not be able to understand those
Sir,
intricacies.
this happened, na? This happened with the MD-80 back in the 80s or 90s. उसका rudder just flew off.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, in normal, I mean, because accidents happen more often than that. So whenever this happens, so this AIB team goes and it tries to find out that what is the prima facie. उसका that AIB team जो है ना, वो बिल्कुल इंक्वायरी करने नहीं जाती. कई लोग बोलते हैं कि भाई ये देख के सब कुछ आगे बस बता देंगे कि भाई मैं बताता हूँ क्या हुआ. That knowledgeable people, ऐसी नहीं है. Their main aim is to just go and see that is there something to some instructions need to be passed, so that immediately another similar case does not happen. Okay, so once they satisfy themselves कि भाई ये अगर कोई checks issue करने हैं तो they recommend कि okay all aircraft, जैसे इस केस में let's say there was a case कि oil leak हो गया, okay, सीजर के पहले कि oil leak हो गया, तो क्या करेंगे आप? सारे एयरक्राफ्ट का चेक कराएंगे कि सबकी ऑयल सील्स ये वो कंटेनर्स वगैरह सब देखोगे सब ठीक ठाक है, ओके, and after ensuring that yeah everything is okay, you go through the check, that fleet remains grounded for whatever 6 hours 12 hours whatever time it takes for those checks to be done, क्योंकि अगर तो इन हाउस चेक्स हैं तो वो सब जगह साइमल्टेनियसली हो जाएंगे, अगर कोई स्पेशलिस्ट टीम जानी है किसी बीआरडी से तो देन ऑब्वियसली इट विल गो फ्रॉम प्लेस ए टू प्लेस बी एंड द फ्लीट विल बी released from time to time, okay. तो what happens is after that process is over then you institute an inquiry, full team होती है, एयर कमोडोर लेवल ऑफिसर उसको हेड करता है, ओके, जो एक्सपीरियंस्ड है और पायलट है, ओके, उसके साथ एक फ्लाइंग मेंबर होता है, फ्लाइंग मेंबर होता है जो उस एयरक्राफ्ट पे क्वालिफाइड है, क्योंकि जो प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर है जो एयर कमोडोर है जरूरी नहीं कि उस एयरक्राफ्ट पे क्वालिफाइड हो, ओके, तो इसलिए उसको एक फ्लाइंग मेंबर दिया जाता है साथ में जो उस एयरक्राफ्ट पे क्वालिफाइड है, फिर उसके साथ एक इंजीनियरिंग मेंबर होता है, फिर उसके साथ एक डॉक्टर होता है, फिर उसके साथ एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट होता है, ओके, ये मिनिमम टीम है जो जाके एक्सीडेंट करती है और हर एंगल अलग अलग को देखती है कि भाई क्या हुआ, और डिटेल्ड इंक्वायरी होती है, और फिर क्या होता है कुछ मटेरियल फेलियर है तो उसको इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए भेजा जाता है, हमारे जो लेबोरेटरीज हैं, एनएएल है या डीएमआरएल है एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, तो डिफेक्ट इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट के लिए जाता है, अगर कोई फॉरेन का जहाज है तो उसके फॉरेन के ओईएम को भेजा जाता है, कि इसमें अगर हमारे वो टेस्टिंग फैसिलिटी नहीं है यहाँ, ओके, एफडीआर एनालाइज किए जाते हैं, सब कुछ किया जाता है, सारी रिपोर्ट्स जब इकट्ठी होके आती हैं एंड देन यू एनालाइज एंड यू मेक योर recommendations or remarks of that particular accident, that what, because aim is not only to just find out superficially, you find out in detail what happened, why it happened, how it happened, and how it can be avoided in future, and all these recommendations are made. In many times lot of modifications have been introduced in aviation because of accidents, because something came up, all these modifications like proximity control warning system, or terrain warning systems, or even to an extent in civil aircraft, smoke detector in toilet was the result of an accident, that it so happened that smoke started coming out of the plane, etc., and then when they opened the toilet or doors or something, someone was smoking, and it caught fire and it led to a serious accident, and that is how the modification was done, that okay, you must have smoke detectors in toilets, okay. So many modifications are done like that because the result of these recommendations, certain procedures are changed, let's say you were flying in a particular way, certain procedures need amendment, so though they are recommended तो उनको implement किया जाता है, so constantly learning scheme is there, and when they make the recommendation, now detailed presentation होती है, command के जो CC होते हैं उनको होती है, फिर chief को presentation होती है, okay, and after that this is submitted to the government of India, or if there are any recommendations at that level. So very detailed procedure is gone through.
Done, sir. Let's go into some questions, sir. काफी सारे हैं,
Yes,
so
please.
we'll kind of keep them crisp so that we can take as many as we can. Guys, before that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Remember, Dev Talks is the only place where you can actually hear realistic conversations like this. ठीक है, बाकी सब, and this is from a person who's flown. ठीक है, ये armchair है, Marshals तो बिल्कुल नहीं. ठीक है, so let's please hear it from people who've actually held a stick in their hand and flown. ठीक है, and that's something which is very important. So please like, subscribe, and most importantly spread the word about Dev Talks. आप लोग इस चैनल की तरफ contribute कर सकते हैं using the QR code in PayPal for direct contributions, या फिर आप super stickers, super chats and membership का use भी कर सकते हैं. Thank you so much. Right, let's go. सबसे पहले Parag ji, thank you so much for becoming a member. Bharti from the south, welcome back as a member. Partha P. Funny comment. He says, thank you so much. Firstly, pilot was fantasizing Rafael. They just kicked him out. That's a
Jealousy.
good one, buddy. That's a good one, but I must say,
Yeah,
so you should tell that to the pilot. He'll laugh.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's a very interesting comment. Godspeed. Thank you so much for your contribution. He says engine can also seize due to issues in fuel, moisture, engine through fuel lines. Multiple other reasons can also cause an engine seize.
See, anything can happen. Like I said, this inquiry will bring out. But what happens is, there is a problem in fuel, no, then it will start giving indications very early. Because
Hmm.
fuel is being, you can't have a fuel contamination only in part. Fuel contamination will be all over. It will start giving you indication at startup itself. During taxi, during takeoff, full sortie it had flown. It was coming back for landing, right? So now it is not, in my opinion, to see that fuel contamination surface itself. Yes, I'm not completely ruling out this gentleman's imagination or thinking power, because it is also possible that that contamination did not affect engine for some time, and over cumulative effect
Mm,
it
yeah,
started affecting
yeah,
later.
yeah.
It is quite
Mm.
possible, but I'm just saying from practical point of view that when engine seizure happens, this kind of takes place. Sudden seizure takes place only because of lubrication. That fuel
So,
will start giving you some indication of your JBT not being, if the fuel is not giving complete calorific value, that you will understand that your thrust will suffer, your acceleration will suffer, your some parameters, it will manifest itself in thrust somewhere, where pilot will be able to make out that something is not right. I mean, it will not be a sudden kind of failure. That will happen
so,
in within no time. That when there is a kind of lubrication failure. I mean, this is my a informed and considered statement.
so lubrication can mean an in-flight failure where the lubrication leaked out and a whole lot of things as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And so see, there is a oil system which
Hmm.
goes around and comes back. It just keeps churning. Okay. Now let's say at some point it starts leaking out. Okay. Just imagine your engine oil of the car leaks out, and you have
Yeah,
no.
it does. It
Okay,
does.
it does. So let me give example of this fuel contamination that we talked of. You can translate it into car, because after all engine की बात कर रहे हैं. Correct. So if you have a fuel contaminated in your car, okay, you can imagine how will it behave. It will give you some indication. It will not suddenly on the roadside करके एकदम, I mean, it will not run for 500 kilometers, then सुक करके बंद हो जाएगी. It will
Hmm.
start giving you some indication from the beginning. Some के power नहीं ले रही, or it's not accelerating, or it is something happening. But if the oil leaks out in suddenly in one go, okay, what will you have? You'll have temperature shooting up, and you will have a seizure immediately.
So, JBJP, thank you so much. He says 2023 in Rajasthan, three military plane helicopters crashed in a day. Why? No, three, two.
Hmm. See, I would say that one exact accident I will have to go through. I mean, why one needs to read the exact recommendations of Code of Inquiry, and it is. I mean, I would admit that it's not that I have ready-made information on this. Thing. I mean, I can talk in general, because this again, certain things are classified, not classified, and we can talk of why things take place. Why helicopters accidents take place. They take place because of weather, they take place because of other issues. We can discuss that part more openly, that what are the reasons, rather than
You
getting
can't
into
come
a
to know.
particular
It's not possible, sir.
specifically that why it happened. So I mean, there will be a little limitation on that
Sir,
issues. We can talk
Jay,
concepts.
yes, Jay K. Vichar, thank you so much. Sir, can fighter jets get cyber attacked?
Not yet, not in a classical manner, like no, not as yet. How it can get cyber attack, I would say, is that if it's let's say I'm supposed to load something in system, let's say weapon operating system, I'm loading my navigation module, or I'm loading that something, and if that gets a malware, or that is affected, etc., then it can affect the performance of my fighter from that point of view. Okay, like cyber, not in a classical cyber attack, like we the way we understand cyber attack. Okay, and how it can now affect not plane per se, but the operation of aircrafts can definitely get affected by cyber in case my command and control or ground stations which are working on all your PCs or computers, or my the person or the guys who are controlling me, they get affected by cyber attack, then definitely it will affect the aircraft performance. But if the question is whether aircraft can go haywire, like if aircraft stops going straight or topsy turvy because you have attacked it in cyber, not yet. I don't think that
Not
is
yet.
that. Yeah.
Funny comment, JPJP. Thank you so much. He says, Bedi sir, Bhagwan Maan da Pila Punjab CM helicopter देखा? Mazak, Mazak, Mazak. Godspeed. Thank you so much. He says, very informative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Rahul Sharma ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Okay. Sukhbir Singh asked an interesting question. He said, could there be have some tinkering at the night while the aircraft were at their base?
In the base, like if you heard me, I said very clearly that starting from sabotage angle is investigated in every accident. That was there any attempt to sabotage?
Why
Okay.
not, sir?
uh,
Mm.
and it is
Ev-
clearly commented upon.
Everybody does it, by the way. Every air force in the
Yeah,
world, every flying thing in the world, first looks at sabotage.
sabotage, and it is clearly ruled out that that sabotage is ruled out because of this, because what will happen is they will watch that this aircraft, they're all under surveillance these days. Okay. There is a rule, Adi, in the Air Force, that no single technician can work on an aircraft at any given time. Even as a tire checker, when we do, there are always two of them, because it is difficult for two diverse people, to what should I say, to plan, or to do something like that, and to keep it close. That kind of operate is not possible. So I wouldn't say not possible, but it is more difficult. Okay, so what happens is, as a rule, there are more than one people on the aircraft, and when aircraft is not attended, there are guards guarding it. Every aircraft is under supervision 24/7. But still, okay, it is possible that while technician, while there are two of them, they are not neck to neck. I mean, it is possible sabotage, like, you say, I mean, just giving an example, somebody throws a spanner into engine, or somebody loosens a screw, or somebody does something, etc. Okay, so all these things are looked at and ruled out, and I'm proud to say that actually we haven't had any case so far where sabotage has come out, because there are checks and balances.
First
What is
photographs
that?
of the Tejas Mark 1.
Uh-huh.
First public photographs, sir,
Okay.
on
Okay.
taxi tests.
Taxi test. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one
Mm-hmm.
which has come. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
couple of photographs that have come online. Somebody just messaged me like, "Bhai, ye photo dekh le."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So beautiful. I mean, let's see. I think it was supposed to do a test trial anytime now, test flight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Keyur Patel ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Arsh Malik asked, there are delays in Rafale due to huge demands in the 404 delivery, and we could produce only 20 LCA per year. How do you see India's future acquisitions timelines to replace old jets? 24, might I correct that?
Hmm.
And
See, what
Rafale, does it
happens
use
is,
414, sir?
no. The 414 is the next one which is coming to us. Okay, it's a single engine configuration. Okay, so what happens is, this is a issue. Even 404 is an issue. Okay, which is the current one. Okay, the engine supply, and there were rumors that, okay, I mean, I think someone wrote an article that. At times I think they are probably could be diverting some engine supplies to somewhere else, maybe Turkey, Oman, etc. Either other. Okay, that your rate of production is not up to the mark. But
No,
what
actually,
happens
sir,
is,
now there's a sorry to interject, but there's a
no,
latest update that came end of last month that they are going to increase the production of the 414s to about 34 to 44 units. As a matter of fact, in the next year. So
no.
because they have delivery pressures, as you just mentioned, sir.
Yeah.
So this is
And
a report that I come.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So this 414 we were talking of, they and just to go back to question, I mean, they are using SNECMA in the sense that French and this is US engine. Okay, we were talking over Rafale, using 414. Okay, so the 414 is planned in our subsequent aircraft, and if they do not, I think there will be some kind of arrangement or agreement that such so and so delivery of engines must have been penned down.
sir,
And we are talking of even TOT coming. That way. I mean, if those agreements have to be
that
gone
is
through.
3 years, sir. 3 years
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
said. So 6 months are
yeah,
already gone from that. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Godspeed once again. Thank you so much. He says, "Do you know how experienced the pilot was?" Is
Oh, pilot must have been very experienced because he was doing a display for Prime Minister. Yeah, I mean, no less experienced guy would be sent. It was an exercise. I mean, you're in a full display. I mean, you can imagine what kind of experienced pilot must have been sent to perform. Where the stakes are so high.
JBJP. Thank you so much. Bedi sir, B1 bomber has 4 engines. So cool, your view. Four
It
afterburning engines.
Yeah. So yeah, these aircraft are huge. They were a different uh, legacy. I mean, brute power. And you remember in our stealth, we talked of that aircraft flying 72 hours almost. We do, going from place A to B. I mean, that's a different thing. But this is brute power, and going this thing, and these aircraft, none of these bombers, incidentally, I mean, if we may divert slightly, these guys will have different, not only dropping aircraft. For example, B-52. Okay, now we think it's a bomber, it is going to drop bombs and whole tonnage of loads, but it's also being used to launch hypersonic missiles. No, ARRW will be released from B-52. Okay, so now what role these guys
It's changed, sir. The
employ,
roles
and
have
they
changed.
take that the roles have changed. Okay,
I mean, you look at
so
the Russians,
yes, brute
the
power,
the
yeah,
162s. They're firing basically for Kinzhals. Either they fly the
yeah,
MiG 31s for that, or they fly these.
MiG-31, yeah, absolutely.
Correct, sir. Keyur Patel, he says DRDO HAL is not able to control vibration of an ALH assembly. That is now fixed, I guess. How can they build a jet engine?
No, no, these are not related with each other at all, because HAL is not building a jet engine. Essentially, it's GTRE. Okay,
Absolutely, sir.
and it's nothing to do with HAL. Okay, and
So
they
related,
guys are toiling there. I have gone and seen, and we have talked in detail. The new question is also on Kaveri engine, I guess.
same. So that's what
What
I
does it
thought.
say?
We'll just take
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one. He says, "What is the current status of the Kaveri engine? Can it power some later generations of LCA? Maybe the AMCA, or we will be dependent on Pratt and Whitney, Rolls Royce, and GE."
So, no. See, what happens is, that is why are we making Kaveri engine? We are making it for that purpose only. That it will start powering our future aircraft. You see, so there is a whole lot of push on Adi on this Kaveri engine. It has become a very center stage thing
As a
now,
matter,
and they are
yeah,
moving
pretty fast.
ahead. And subsequently, I think the what lacks is, people have started talking of, we need more test facilities, we need more wherewithal. So while metallurgy, a lot of things have been sorted out, it is just getting things together, and exponentially it keeps becoming hard to achieve the next target. When you start go up to 85 kilonewtons now, it's not the same what it was from, let's say, 70 to 75, and 75 to 80, and 80 to 85, and 85 to 90. It's not a linear graph. It's a each increment has to be tested, done, test flying, etc. So those things are, I think, they're becoming bottleneck, which probably will get sorted in the time to come, but there is a
As a matter
solid
of
push
fact,
on.
I know that GRT is just ordered for afterburning section ke components
Hmm.
for the next 5 engines.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told. So
Hmm.
my question is about the payloads that we can expect on HAPS. When can we see the first flight of the Tejas Mark 1A? Tejas Mark 1A is before this month end, that much I can tell you, but HAPS, I don't know, so.
Yeah. HAPS is, high altitude pseudo satellite, what they call, which they have just demonstrated. Now it's a more of it's a kind of hail class of aircraft. So it will be essentially surveillance. To start with, it will have the advantage of these type of things is that they fly very high. He will fly at 60,000 feet probably. Okay, where
We've done a show on this,
normally.
sir.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, that was we did, when we covered balloons also and things like that. Okay, so they will fly. I mean, we did a show on near space, right? So they will fly at 60 or 1,000 feet and have a persistent surveillance, for days together, 60 days, 90 days is what people are talking. Okay, and they will have solar powers. Now, the interesting part is that solar power, on a satellite is different ball game. Okay, that means you have flat plates, but let's say solar power on a wing. Now, this wing has to produce lift, mind you. It can't be a flat plate. It has to have curvature, right? And moment it has a curvature, now you have to design a solar panel which is conformal to that curvature. I think that
Hmm.
is still a work in progress. You can have a flat plate solar panels, but such large scale solar panels, because they have to be on top of the wing, they can't be below. The lower surface you still can have a flat, but they have to be on top where they get enough sunlight. Okay, and enough sunlight so that it can sustain itself. Another thing of satellite is satellite probably doesn't go through classic day and night cycle. I mean, it's much above that, but in the atmosphere you're going through classic day and night cycles, right? So you have to have solar power sufficient to charge your stuff during the day so that you can sustain the night, you know
Sir,
otherwise
sir,
it can't happen. So I think that is where surveillance load will be surveillance on that.
sir. JBJP says, Bedi sir, we've got 36 Rafales. Qatar has 36 threat. No.
30 plus. Threat, it is not Rafale versus Rafale. It is the overall scenario that, one has to cater for, that how's your complete Air Force placed at.
Yeah. Sorry. First, this one. Frag out. Thank you so much. He says, hi, sir, which is better in close combat, Python 5 or the AMRAM
The AMRAAM is not a close combat missile anyway. It is advanced medium range air-to-air missile.
missile?
Okay, so
Hmm.
that is not a that is a BVR kind of stuff. Okay, but in close combat, let me tell you, these nowadays modern day missile. I mean, every missile is getting a lot of unless you meant SRAM. Okay, SRAM is advanced short range air-to-air missile, which we bought for Jaguars. Okay,
Yeah.
now they are 25 kilometers range, and they are they are very good. Both are good in their own class. Okay, it just depends on what works better at what place. Okay,
And
but
there are
they
too
have
many
tremendous
variables also, na, sir?
there are too many variables. It's how, at what angle you launch it, at what position, how aircraft
Speed, ye,
maneuvers,
wo.
how is the pilot in that, behaving, etc., etc. Okay, because you're never going to have a test done that under similar conditions two missiles are launched. So whenever you say that SRAM worked in this, or in laboratory conditions are very very different. So every you will have range, little less here, little more here, but the conditions in which they are launched and employed, that is what
Ji,
matters most.
ji. Kayur Patel, once again, thank you. He says, no developing country has its own jet engine. China will be the first, followed by India. China is also a copied engine from the WS-95, which was actually a Russian
Yeah.
engine.
A whole lot of
The
WSCs,
RD-95.
WS10, 15, RD90. They call it WS15, WS10,
Yeah,
WS15. This is for the
11.
J20, and they're putting. I mean, WS15, they are making it for uh, J20.
That's a
So
copy of the Su-34's engine,
yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah.
what the Russians are giving us for the Su-30s now. So that's going to be interesting. Batraji says, sir, what is the outcome of the inquiry? Can we expect some delay in the induction of Mark 1 version, Mark 1A version on
Mhm.
that, or that will it go on schedule?
No. I mean, your other aircraft are already flying. Where is the question of delay? I mean, the other LCAs are flying. No, it is not. There is no. It's not that all LCAs are not flying, waiting for the inquiry. I mean, they are flying. So if the other LCAs are flying, then there is no effect on the other aircraft. Yes, it definitely it will bring out. Yeah, if they need to take some precautions, let's say for the future aircraft or something needs to be tweaked or something comes out, then probably it will help.
So, Pawan Kumar says, timing of the crash when we were about to sell the Tejas. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, that is true. But what happens is this is the reality of life. You can't get away from there. I mean, you can't. This is ownership. Like all these big OEMs. If we are responsible OEMs, it is not that. Let's say you sold Tejas and then you say now you carry on. This is yours or whatever it is. I mean, you will maintain all OEMs maintain responsibility for the product that they produce. So till quite late when we bought Mirage 2000, I was in the squadron. The Frenchies used to be stationed there. I mean, they took complete responsibility. Anything went wrong, what was happening, these are your contractual agreements. So you look after your aircraft. It is not that probably, for all it depends which way we look at it. That if something has come about, or rather than fixing something after selling it, if something gets fixed before selling it, then I think it is good, that you have taken
So,
care of that, and probably a similar thing will not happen. I mean, what if it had happened after selling? Then what happens?
yeah. Bharti from the south says, failure error without the loss is a success. We are hoping for the morality of the force, which is binded. Bharti is with you, sir. Is our black box included in the aircraft to check the RCA?
RCA in the sense?
The radio, I mean, the
No,
radio
no, see
controls,
what happens
etc.
is no. Yeah, black box is there. FDR is there in every aircraft. I mean, there's no aircraft without that. Okay, and aircraft have CVR also, cockpit voice recorder also. So you know what goes into that, etc., etc. I mean, FDR is a given, and mostly it is retrieved unless that aircraft is very very badly totally off or drowned or whatever it is. Even then, it's so designed that you are able to retrieve it, and the OEMs are able to milk it out, even when it is in a fairly bad shape, because that's the whole
So,
purpose of this.
so, besides simulators, we also have conversion trainers for the pilots as of now. It is being said that Tejas Mark II and AMCA will not have conversion trainers. They plan to use the LIFT lifts. Your comments, please.
No. Like I said, to start with, even LCA did not have a trainer. We trained pilot only on simulators, and launched them solo. But subsequently, I think in the days to come, two-seater versions will be there, in my opinion. I mean, where it is being said, I don't know, but I think Mark twos or MCAs, because what will happen is now. Adi, I think the difference is we could afford to do that, send people directly on simulators to this, because simulator was high fidelity, and we sent very experienced pilots, who are already fully ops on other aircraft. We started sending them on LCS. Okay, slowly, what will happen is when your complete fleet is this, okay, then your even ab initio pilots will start going on these aircraft. Okay, so you will essentially end up having two-seater versions for these aircraft, because we must understand, like, a lot of people give example of civil aircraft, for example. They can almost do dual checks of the aircraft on simulators. They do everything, but then what they're doing, they're just taking off and landing. That you're taking off from place A going to place B and landing, and on the way, yes, you practice emergencies which are standard in nature, fire,
Correct.
this,
Mm.
that, etc. They're not maneuvering, they're not performing. Okay, they are not one versus one, or they are not against. But whereas, why do you need trainers or in simulators, or combat or actual aircraft? That probably the training element, which can be in actual condition seen, or pilot's behavior, etc., or physical conditions, is movement under load, g forces, etc., are important. Okay, maybe to a lesser extent, because a lot more can be done in simulator, and you can use the two-seater for a very very specific purpose. Earlier, two-seaters were used to do everything. Like when we learned flying, there were no simulators. So everything was done in aircraft only. Starting from your normal checks and procedures, you went to the aircraft and sat there and practiced that. Even when a guy has to teach you one very basic thing, you took an aircraft and did that. Now, all that may not be required because simulators will be able to do that. But essentially, two-seaters will be required to some extent, to
So,
impart meaningful training.
so Godspeed once again. Thank you so much. Will crash impact export orders?
Like in,
You,
I don't think so, because all F-35 also crashed. That
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think it because everybody, what happens is, they people who are buying these aircraft, etc., are also knowledgeable. They know what happens and what happened. They will know that this particular crash, what went wrong, what was the problem, has it been fixed properly, where exactly it lied, was it competence, or was it just a development issue, etc., etc. So once all
So,
these questions are answered and things are fixed, then I don't think there would be an issue prima facie. It seems maybe something has happened, it may affect, but not really.
so Agastya says, I want to ask, sir, you heard the news that GRT is requested Indian Air Force for an IL-76 for a test bed. Will the Air Force give approval to that?
There is no choice. You see, what happens is, I think it is late, in my opinion. When you have to develop that engine, been very good question, I would say, that you have to have test. You remember I mentioned test facilities,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah,
That we have to develop test facilities. Now, this is a very important part of test facility. In fact, in my opinion, certain Boeings, this VIP Boeings we retired, probably we could have thought of ahead of time and converted one of them to this flying test bed. Because you see, when you develop engine, how will you, are you going to put it straight away in LCA and fly and test it? Where will it be tested? In the air. IL-76, because it has four engines, right? One of the nacelles is then converted to carry this, particular engine. With the in the air, now you run it and see how it operates and how it happens, and of course with telemetry, etc., etc. So if the GTA, if India has to start making engines for the future, you have to convert one of these aircraft. You buy it from outside, or Air Force gives it, or whatever it is, whosoever does it. There is no choice in this outcome. It will have to be done.
Jay has asked a very technical question. Why are we not focusing more on I-Star types of aircraft in the Indian Air Force? We get to hear of different reports about how much IAF value I-Star type requirement against AWAC type requirement.
Yeah, see, what happens is, we made a beginning with Avro. You remember in '89, or that long time back, which we had an accident also, that rotating Italy, what they used to call it. And then we had Netra. Okay, then we have this wax base, because I-Star is definitely required, and it's not that we are not focusing on that, but I think overall it's a question of what can you afford and what you do now. I think I don't know whether it will be premature. It's open source information that this future Netras, we are so far doing it on Embraer, right? And there is a I think some talk that some Boeings, we have or that civil aircraft have been contracted for to convert into similar kind of facility. So probably when you increase the capability, they will start performing a similar kind of function. So there
True,
is no
true, true.
no denying the fact that that is required, and Air Force is focused on that.
Interesting question. Are accidental crashes all handled differently from a crash like in a dogfight, like Abhinandan's aircraft? If yes, how, especially when the aircraft crashes in enemy territory? You don't investigate crashes there.
Yeah, you don't investigate, and this is wartime. Things are handled differently. What
Differently.
happens is, because that is an operational issue. Aircraft accidents are investigated where you want to know that what went wrong, how it went wrong. Here, I mean, in a dogfight, when something goes wrong, then it is operational mission. I mean, it's entirely different ball game. There is no time to investigate, I guess, and nor is it possible.
Okay. Avasthi says, so what is the track record of other fighter planes like FA-18 Hornets, T-50 Gold Eagle, which use G404 engines?
Yeah, no, they're okay. I mean, even we've had good records. You see, accidents because of engines, like, you go into each, like I mentioned, uh, in a broad manner. What are the two major causes are there. One is technical failure, and technical failure, when we say, it generally points towards some malfunction of engine, some part, or directly or indirectly, whichever way, or some other, not necessarily engine, I mean other issues also, but majority of the time, okay, it fails, or it happens. But it is a healthy record. I mean, offhand, I can't say statistics, but there aren't any issues. They're all very, very proven engines. I would say, not bad. I mean, that way.
Yeah, yeah, they're fitted in so many aircraft, sir.
So many, yeah,
So many aircraft. It's I think the a lot of the people compare the Tejas to what you call the 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 Saab Gripen
yeah, Gripen,
that has
Gripen.
a 404. So Tejas is superb. I am hence curious to know how MiG-21 Bison pilots might have felt their first reaction when they flew the Tejas.
Yeah, I'm sure they must have felt very good, and everybody, first of all, it's your own aircraft. We
Yeah, yeah,
developed it
that's a
here.
big difference, sir. Mm.
Big difference. And then flying, the aircraft, your own aircraft, and Bison pilots, I'm sure, must have felt very good about it. There's anyone would feel good about it. Yeah, Prime Minister also felt very good about it. Flying Tejas, I suppose. So Bison
So,
pilots must have felt.
frag out. Thank you so much. Last two, sir. Is it true that French jets were overbuilt and have a long lifespan? Can we integrate Uttam and avionics from Tejas and Mirage, making them combat worthy? Well, Mirages
They
are combat worthy.
uh, no, Tejas, no, what he's saying, and avionics from Tejas in Mirages, in Mirage, making them combat worthy. I don't know what is the sense of question, but if I can make out, Tejas essentially was built on a Mirage philosophy. If you see, it more or less very closely resembles that. That whole configuration, and even its head-up system display, even its certain control laws, even its avionics, or the representation on of various instruments, etc., are very, very closely similar to that of Mirage. So integration of avionics, etc., what is available, is always integrated. The best practices, but French jets are overbuilt and have long
They're heavy
lifespan.
built, sir. They're heavy
They're,
built. They're not
I mean,
heavily
I
built.
think they're not.
This,
They, they're strong. Every aircraft, every fighter aircraft, I think it's built to its optimum size.
yeah.
Not a gram extra, not a gram less. It is
Huh,
it
but
is so,
The Russians build them like the Russians build them. You
yeah.
know.
No, Russians, it jokingly, they don't bother about human comfort. They used to say, I mean, we jokingly used to say as young pilots, what Russians do. I mean, ulta, when Mirages came, you see, what Westerners do. They, first make the pilot sit and build an aircraft around him. Okay, that his comfort is paramount. And what Russians do, they will make a full aircraft, and they will realize, oh shit, pilot also has to sit. So make some place for him. I mean, it's just on a colloquial side,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
comfort level, like in a Mirage 2000 or on a Mach 21 or even 23, 27, is far, far different. There is no comparison.
Yeah. But the Russian aircraft are very sturdy. उसकी कोई problem नहीं है because they literally land anywhere. I've seen these Su's. Sir, in Ukraine, they've got a forward airfield, right, in the currently contested area. Su-25s, and when I'm not saying runway. If you hear what I said, it's an airfield. It's
Hmm.
literally a freaking field.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
धूल उड़ती है ये Su-25s, three of them take off together. Dust.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the next three come, they take off. There's no air intake problem. There is no bloody FOB. कुछ नहीं. Just उड़ जाओ.
Hmm.
You wonder,
Yeah.
and when you look at Americans doing all this stuff, वो एक एक पत्थर उठाने जाते हैं पहले. You know,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
whole
Hmm.
walk happens and all that stuff. But it's amazing that these aircraft are built so hard
Hmm.
that they can operate
Hmm.
in these areas. Sir, I'll take another extra question. I'll just take 2 minutes extra if you don't mind. This is an
Yeah, no
interesting
problem.
one, which is a very asked question. Because Pakistan threw out a rumor that we are buying fifth gen fighters, and everybody said, "Yaar, ye kya ho raha hai?" The Chinese do allegedly have a fifth gen fighter. Uh, what do you think about this, sir? Can we handle it?
See, I would say the entire. I mean, it's a moot question because it is not Indian Air Force is blind to it. But that China has this capability, and if we are pitched against it, what are we going to do? Okay, it's not that we are just wondering about it. I'm sure there are things in plan, and like I said, the defense against a fifth. Okay, what does fifth gen fighter achieve? Like, let's say stealth is one capability, or it's load carrying capacity, or whatever it is. Correct. So it is not that MK has to fight fifth gen fighter only. It's not. We are talking of dogfight, right? You're talking of weapons capability. Okay, you need good radars to detect this aircraft. You don't need MK to detect this aircraft. Okay, so
Hmm.
if you have a good AVAX capability, you have like good ISTAR, you have ground radars, you have other paraphernalia, you have good missiles to take it on, etc. So handling fifth gen fighter of China is not MK dependent, in my opinion. Okay, MK is what they need to worry, that how are they going to handle. It is not that MK is being developed to handle their aircraft. It is a parity, yes, required, but the aircraft are not pitched like this 1:1. It depends what is flying in that sector. It is not necessary that where that fifth gen aircraft is going to come, only MK has to be flying there. No, no. I mean, it could be Rafale flying there. It is,
Yeah, yeah.
Su-30 flying there. It well could be LCA flying there. So anyone who's flying in that sector will have to handle it, coming. So that is how plans are made.
And by the way, guys, the J20s have major body issues right now, and that's something which has been reported by a lot of people, observers that have said ki there are problems in that. Yeah, they
Mhm.
were flying it in high altitude, they're not able to take that kind of pressure. And with the weight and all that, they're facing body challenges. As a matter of fact, sir can, I mean, just not acknowledge what I'm going to say, but there is a report in the open domain. I don't know how true is it or not, but Su-30s of our Indian Air Force have not locked onto, but detected
Mhm.
J20s in Tibet,
Eastern
flying around in
sectors.
Tibet.
Yeah. Mhm.
So we've seen that they have been able to get detected also. तो ऐसी बात नहीं
See,
है कि
Adi,
you
I
can shoot
remember
out
when we did,
a.
when we did stealth wala thing, if you remember, I made a statement that stealth aircraft is not that you have made it Mr. India. You understand the reference to Mr. India. There was a movie by Anil Kapoor, in
Yeah,
which he just goes invisible, or Invisible Man. Okay, to
yeah,
the
yeah.
new generation, it is not that. But what it achieves, it is invisible most of the time. When crucial, you see what do I. Okay, most of the time, or some of the times, even if you see me, it's okay, because I'm not stationary there. Let's say you've seen me just now as a glimpse, okay, and then I go invisible. You don't know where have I gone. No, it's like diving into water. Let's say you dive into water, you pop up there and you dive again. Now, can you really make out where are you going to pop up from? It's anybody's guess, no? That where are you going? What is happening? You are invisible for some time. In between, you are visible. You go invisible again. Okay, so if I'm attempting a weapon solution on a stealth aircraft, it is difficult, because if a radar guided missile does not see it, even half the time, it is difficult to lock onto that aircraft in a steady manner and achieve a fire solution. So it is not that it is not to be seen at all by any one, and it is possible. I don't know in what condition that. Then how do these people rehearse? They carry Lundberg lens. They put it so that they start reflecting, because for these guys to practice tactics against other aircraft, they have to be detected and then only maneuver na. So they you do exercises like that. So I won't be surprised if, let's say, one of that occasion was there, or etc etc. So why I'm saying particularly that neither we have to be underconfident that they it's a big challenge and they can't be detected, nor do we have to become overconfident that, oh, we detected J20, not to worry, we'll detect them every time. It is not so. You
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
you
yeah,
you have to be very very careful and go by the real capability.
yeah, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Sir, thank you so much. It's always lovely talking to you. Very informative episode क्योंकि what we see is all rubbish around the place. It's not something that is realistic. हमको जो चीजें दिखती हैं वो होती नहीं है और जो होती हैं वो दिखती नहीं है. That's how it
Yeah,
is. But it's most importantly, the most critical thing that we need to know is that there's a huge process that goes behind these crashes and this and that and a whole lot of things. So, which is how you learn, you go forward and hope that those mistakes and or those issues don't come up again. And to help us understand that, sir, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Pleasure.
thank you, Adi.
Jai
Thank
Hind,
you.
Jai
Always a
Bharat.
pleasure to. Thank you.